Hey everybody, scan tools, OBD-I scan tools. If you're working on one of these older GM cars like this 85 Camaro IROC, you need an OBD-I scan tool to really get in and do a lot of diagnostics. My selection that I bought several years ago is an Actron 9690, and it's been a pretty good scanner. I've been using this now for a couple of years. And it's got cables to do GM and Ford and a number of others. You can look at specs on it, but it's an Actron CP 9690. And in a few moments, I will show you how it works. While I've been recommending this to folks who follow my YouTube channel, and it's a good scanner, I ran across on the, looking at doing some internet searches, that it seems to be out of stock every place. And they're saying, oh goodness, 6 months to get it back in stock. So I started doing a little additional searching. And what I've found is that there are two additional models out there. One is an OTC 3211, and the other is a Bosch OBD1300. And both of them appear to be equivalent to this. They're all sold by Bosch Automotive Service Solutions out of Warren, Michigan. What I have done is send an email to the Actron folks to say, hey, one, why is it out of stock? And two, can you verify that the other two are really equivalent? I did get an answer back from my email, and they confirmed that these are equivalent, and you ought to be able to use them. So, in my internet searches, it appeared that various places that the OTC and the Bosch part numbers, some places had in stock. So far I haven't found another one of these 9690s anywhere. Amazon says they're out of stock. Summit, where I bought mine. So it might pay if you need an OBD-I tool to hunt around and see if you can find one of the alternates, because they seem to be that they're the same. Hey, today I'm just going to take a few minutes, and if you're working on one of these older cars, that's called OBD-I diagnostics, and you're trying to work on the engine, you really need a scan tool. The GM did a nice job. I can't talk about the other manufacturers. But GM had a lot of tests early on that you could run that were listed in the service manual where you didn't need a scan tool. You could, with some work, run special tests. You could jumper things. You could go in with a digital voltmeter. You could measure dwell with a dwell meter. So there were ways to work around it. But frankly, some of those were challenging and time-consuming, and the best was if you could have a scan tool. Now, we're looking at cars that are, made in the 80s or early 90s, and there aren't very many tools around anymore. GM had what they called Tech 1, and I think you can pick some of those up used these days. Then they went to what they called a Tech 2, and today it's, I'm trying to remember, GDS I think they call it, but it's a system that runs off a laptop with software that they use in their facilities. In any case, I had to hunt around to find a tool that would do OBD-I work. What I'm going to show you today is the tool that I bought, and I'll run you through just a little bit of what it can do, because quite honestly, the manual that comes with it is not real detailed on the OBD-I. They have much detail on the OBD-II features. OBD-I, they give a good description, but I think every car is a little bit different on what it provides. So I'm going to show you on my Tuned Port 305 from 1985 what you can see with this tool. And to start off with, this is an Actron tool. It's a 96 CP 9690. I would say it's their most capable tool. It's the one, it covers OBD-I 1984 through 1995, GM and Ford. And then they have cables to go GM, Ford, Chrysler, and Toyota. And Chrysler and Toyota, the coverage is from 1989 to 1995. I'm really worried more about the GM application, but they do come. It comes with this nice little bag, and in the bag is a set of cables that you can use for the other manufacturers, as well as an OBD-II cable. I can plug this into my 2019 Chevy Suburban, and it will read codes. It won't. The instructions that come with this say that it will read many of the manufacturer's codes up to 2013. Beyond 2013, I think they rely on you being under warranty, and they don't provide that information. So on my 19 Suburban, if it sets check engine light, I can read that. If it was something in the transmission or the airbag, that I can't seem to access. But today's discussion is, what can you get out of one of these tools on OBD-I? I'll go plug it in a minute, but it comes with a nice long cable. The jumper attachment is here. When you use this attachment, then that's the OBD-I GM ALDL connector. You can disconnect this and plug the OBD-II connector on it. The tool does have batteries. You can power it up disconnected, and it will come up and let you read data that you've taken in the past. So there's a review data feature here, and I've had 1985 Camaro, and I can go look at recordings, and I have some recordings I could play back. And it says English or metric. English. Yeah, okay. Let's see if the camera will read it. There we go. So you end up with these different parameters. On this car, you can get the third gear switch, the fourth gear, where the air conditioning is requested, the coolant temp, the EGR duty cycle, engine RPM, rich and lean, fan request, and I think that fan request is fan request from the air conditioner, not from normal thermal. If the battery voltage is high, it'll give you IAC position. And then down at the bottom, let's see here. Then down at the bottom, it'll tell you how many frames. But I'm going to click through the rest of the parameters. Injector pulse width, whether it's closed or open loop, grams per second of airflow, and that number is really large. In doing some hunting, I had somebody who's good with controllers come back and say he thought I should divide that by 255. It's off by a scale factor based on how this tool is reading the ECM. So it's not raw grams per second. MAT, which is the manifold air temperature, it's in the plenum on the tuned port unit. Then there's oxygen sensor in millivolts, the cross counts, and then the last one is what gear are you in? Are you in park neutral or are you in drive? I got a little ahead of myself here when I said the park neutral switch was the last parameter. There are actually 5 more below. The first is the PROM ID. The second is TCC lockup status, whether the converter clutch is on or off, whether the TC solenoid is on or off, TPS sensor voltage in volts, and the vehicle speed in miles per hour. And finally, just a note that the first item in
in the list is the third gear switch. As far as I can tell on this car, there is no third gear switch, and that one is always on. The ECM apparently has a signal that says it's on permanently. Um, that's the only other anomaly or issue that I see in
And
the
you
data.
can click through, find the buttons here. You can click through the frames. I think around 140 or 150 snapshots. Let's see what we end up with here. I'll just hold the button down. It says 64 snapshots, 143 seconds. And this is a recorded piece. If it was OBD-II, they offer different kinds of freeze frame data, and they offer graphing. For OBD-I, you don't get graphing. That's the best recording that you'll get, is snapshots. And I think it depends on your ECM. The ECM in this car is relatively slow in its communication rate. I think in some of the newer ones you may get a faster data rate than this one. But it's been very helpful when I was diagnosing the engine to be able to put this in record and tip in and go down the road and collect a set of data and then come back here later and take a look at it. So I'm going to go set this up in the car, and we'll be back in a minute. First thing you need to do is you take the GM ALDL tool, and it connects. It's hard to get a good look. It connects under the dash here, underneath the tack on the Camaro. There's a port, and I have there's a lid that normally is over this. I have the lid taken off for the moment. There we go. Okay. So you wiggle it into place. OBD-II cars are self-powered, but OBD-I cars require a 12-volt plug. And so it's pretty handy on this one. We got a cigarette lighter plug up high here. So then we can get right in here to the screen, and you can see you have vehicle diagnostics. You got the ability to print and review data. Well, I already just showed you the review data. Right now, if I say vehicle diagnostics, it will auto-select. It will check on an OBD car. You can see some of the different ones I've had plugged in. And here's the one for my '85 Camaro. You can otherwise select manual entry and tell it what year your car is. Alright, so the way this works is you turn the key off for 10 seconds, which it is off, and then you turn it on, and then hit enter. Now it's reading codes, and it says there are 2, which I know I haven't cleared. If I hit that, it says I have a code 42 for the ignition spark timing, and that's because I had it disconnected to set the timing, just to do a timing check. And then number 2 is a 44 oxygen sensor lean, and on this car, on this ECM, all of these codes are set as current, even if they're not current. I really need to go disconnect the battery and clear them. I just haven't done that. You cannot clear them from the tool. You have to go pull power. And the reason this one's lean is I had inadvertently knocked off the hose that connects from the intake manifold to the charcoal canister. And that was a big enough vacuum leak to make it go lean. So now I can go back and say, okay, data stream. And here we can hit view data, and it'll come and bring those up, and you can say entire data list, or you can set a custom list. Normally I just do the entire. And this is that same screen as it showed what it recorded. So the switches are off, the coolant's 95 degrees, EGR duty cycle, engine RPM, it's all just sitting here nice. The IAC is wide open because we're not running. Of course, open loop. That's what everything is reporting. Prom ID. Oh, I didn't go all the way to the bottom. TCC lockup and TPS are on here also. I guess I didn't go all the way to the bottom of the list before. But it will record all the way to the bottom. So I'm going to go light it up here. So this is the active version, engine running. It's sitting in open loop. The engine's cold, so things are set up a little bit high. I'm set up a little bit high. Airflow and such are a little higher than normal. But here we go. It's already dropped into closed loop. It's a good oxygen sensor now that I've got it replaced. But you're getting cross counts, and you can see the oxygen sensors responding, and we're going rich to lean, and the idle of about 950. And one interesting feature of this tool on these ECMs is that when I plug in the tool, it raises the idle speed. So you'll see right now the idle speed in neutral is over 1,000. It's almost 1050, and somewhere between 1,000 and 1,100 is where it will run in park or neutral, when normally you would expect it to be down around 700, 750-ish. It's a feature that I don't know why they did it. Perhaps it was a way of helping the engine, keeping it running in an engine that wasn't running well, but this caused me a lot of concern, because I ran this tool while I was debugging the engine, and I couldn't get the idle down. It kept running fast like this, and if you go back and listen to the exhaust, the timing is also increased, and the timing is high enough that you start getting some random misfire in neutral. So when you unplug the tool, it calms right down, but those are the main features. Those are the parameters that you can get. Then you can, as I said, you can go into reviewing data or recording data. It does give you a list of acronyms. I don't use that very often, but they're in there. I said print, code lookup, system setup. If you go into system setup, there are just a number of different features that you can have and modify. But I'll tell you, for an OBD-I system, this really works pretty well, and has saved me a lot of trouble. So you could hear the difference in the idle. What that is when I dropped out of, when I went out of the tool's display, when it's not getting the data stream, then the idle drops back down. So right now, see, we're at 975. And when I back out, it drops down on the tack, it's around 750. So, in any case, this is what I've been using. It's been very helpful, and it's one of the few OBD-I tools that you can still find out on the market. So that's all for now.
So just in conclusion, I highly recommend this tool. It's very useful on an OBD-I car. It's been invaluable to me. Once again, it's a CP9690 Actron tool. List price, it's actually come down since I bought it. I looked at Actron's website and it's about $225 list. I bought mine from Summit Racing Equipment, and I see they're currently listing at around $210. So it's not a bad price for what you get, and you can use it on your late model OBD-II cars as well. So good tool. If you need one of these for an old Camaro, it should serve you well.